been fortunate in the sense that I've never had to deal with someone I had to give a negative review, and I've never received a negative review. I hear the horror stories. I know they exist
Of
when you're
course.
doing Airbnbs, but
Yeah, for sure. No
yeah.
doubt. But I mean, you just gotta, like you said, know what you're doing.
Hmm.
And, it's par for the course if somebody writes you a scathing review or, whatever the case may be. You always have a tactful way of, handling something negative, you know.
Yes.
So,
So talk to me. What inspired this topic?
well, what inspired it was me talking to him, and he is like, seems like he's like emotionally, like depressed, and because he was talking about it because he has another house, and he was asking me what I thought he should do. Um, and he was saying he was thinking about doing a land contract, and I was like, well, that's an option, but because he was saying he was thinking about maybe moving out of state. And I was like, well, if I was going to move out of state, I would want a bankroll. And I really wouldn't want the responsibility of a land contract because anything could happen. They could stop paying,
Mm.
whatever. And now you've got to deal with something and you're like, 1,500 miles away. And then he was saying about the Airbnbs, that he was thinking about doing that. And then that's when I just happened to, like, when I logged on to my phone that day, I happened to see that and I was like, oh, let me just click on it. And that's when I just happened to look at that video and I was like, oh, okay. And I sent it to him too, because I was like, hey, look, I remember we talked about that yesterday. And I thought that, um, it was like, I just like the presentation of how the blogger presented it. That was the main thing
Yeah.
because he wasn't, um, with his Versace robe and, hanging out by the pool, like, oh, hey, well, that he was like, sitting in his apartment, like, hey, I still got to
Mhm.
pay rent here too. He was like, I'm hurting. So,
That is funny.
yeah, but I mean, he was real about it though. That was the thing, because he was like, "Oh man," I was like going through it. I had to make them because he had 3 units in one building, and he was like, basically, like, I'm a property manager. He's like, if something goes wrong with the unit, they calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning with the busted pipe, and I'm over there scratching my head trying to figure out what plumber I'm gonna call. Like, yeah, I mean, that is how it goes. So be prepared.
So I thought you were going to reference the topic you talked about this morning, but that's cool too.
Oh, what we're gonna I mean, yeah, I mean, I already know we're gonna have, like, a whole
You,
bunch to talk about as far as that goes. That goes
yeah.
without saying, you know?
What inspired it though? I'm curious. I
Um,
know it had to have been a conversation or something you observed.
yeah, I mean, it was basically, like, because whenever him and I were talking and I was kinda asking him about his blueprint, it it came across as more of a hobby as opposed to an actual legitimate business. And so that's
Hmm.
what made me, just kind of do a little research. Like, oh, I mean, I know a lot of people who do Airbnb.
Yeah.
Since him and I were talking about it. Um, and two, I was thinking about, ways to engage with this person, because I wanted them to, get into what we're getting into with, our
Right.
other business. And I felt like he is outgoing and he does know a lot of people and he's connected to a completely different community that we're not connected to. Because when you and I were talking one time, we were just like, yeah, like, certain people just whatever. And that's what made me be like, let me start going outside of the community. Let me start trying to, network with some of these other relationships I have with people where they have access to other communities that I don't have access to.
I love it. I love it. So when I looked at your topic, I got excited about it because that's something that I talk to business owners about all the time, right? Making that transition from being a hustler to a natural business owner, right? And we can have a conversation about what that means. But I think there's even a higher and more important level than that too. But we'll get to it. But I'm curious to know. So when you were making an assessment and you were conversing with him, what are the things that you observed where you said this guy is not on it? He's still hustling. He doesn't really manage a business yet.
Not having standard operating procedures in place.
Mm,
not having a set way that you're doing things, just kind of like all over the place with what you're doing. Is like it's kind of like an afterthought, like, oh, I forgot, I gotta go do this, that type of thing. A person who, to me, your business is a legitimate business. um, you have certain things in place. You have an LLC, you have, or, whatever type of situation you wanted it to be, if it's a nonprofit,
mhm,
whatever, you have a business, an actual business where you are paying expenses out of that account. You are having money, like whatever money's coming in for the business is going into that account. And you just have certain things set up a certain way where it's a legitimate business. If you were talking with another business owner, or you were maybe putting together a proposal for like a potential person that you were trying to do business with, you could put together a dog and pony show about your business and present, facts showing like this is legitimate business, as
yeah.
opposed to if somebody asked you, well, do you have a website for your business? No.
Mhm.
What's your business called? Oh, I don't really have a name for it. I just, do blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, it's not really a business. It's more of a hustle, or maybe even just a hobby.
Yeah. It's for me, man, you just said a lot. So there's a framework that I follow. But while we're on the topic of like first impressions and how I oftentimes can determine whether or not somebody's really leveled up yet. And you hit the nail on the head. For me, it's like website, landing pages. You don't have to have a smacking social media presence because, to be transparent, most of the business owners I know who are earning seven figures and above, they don't have a smacking social media presence, right? I know so many business owners that they have a couple photos here and there, but that's not how they conduct business. It's not how they acquire their clients. It's not how they create traction. It's not how they create attention. But I have to still say on the flip side, nowadays, if you don't have a smacking social media presence that's communicating your value prop, that's a problem. But something I pay attention to is a person's email address. Yeah, a lot of people run around here with AOL accounts, run around here with Gmail and Outlook. And let's be clear about this too, because I don't want people to misconstrue. Everybody hustles in the beginning. I have a business that is operating a business on one side. I have two other verticals that are still very much operating as hustles. It is what it is, right? So I want to get that out there first because we all have to start somewhere. Um, but those are like some telltale signs, right? I went to a website today um, to do a little bit of research and reconnaissance on a competitor. And those are the first things I paid attention to, right? I saw that the domain name looked kind of funny. I saw that the email address wasn't right. I went to the website. I can kind of tell that it was a cookie cutter site in the sense that the information on there, you could just tell it wasn't curated. It was just probably something a template they downloaded and put up there. I try to tell business owners that all the time. It's like, particularly when you're working with other entrepreneurs and business owners, if you're dealing with high net worth clients, that's one of the first things people do. They go online, they do a little bit of reconnaissance, and it's a huge telltale sign. If you don't have a business line, as opposed to you're just using your cell phone for everything, that's a problem. Now, look, most people communicate with me via my cell phone. So once again, no judgment here, but I also have a public facing line where you call that line. I can choose whether or not I want to answer it, whether or not it's going to be a voicemail, and then I have an assistant that I've been utilizing lately, but she can answer that line, right? To help kind of weed out the individuals who are for me and are my ideal client, those who aren't, right? Qualifying process for them. I
Right.
mean, these are the types of things I pay attention to. I spoke with another business owner earlier today and I asked her what she did. And man, she was all over the place. I mean, I can't say what she was saying because she watches it. It was too raw. She gave me a little bit too much. It was just too much intel, right?
Okay. Okay.
Um, and when I asked her what her value prop was, who her ideal client was, I asked her who are the people that she likes to work with, right? We all have our A, B, and C prospects. And just because you can do everything doesn't mean you should. Like for me, those are some of the telltale signs that, okay, this person probably hasn't quite leveled up yet. Like if somebody asks me who my ideal client is in any of my verticals, I can tell you specifically who they are. I can tell you their buying habits, whether they have children or not, how old they are, how long they've been in business, the type of problems they're dealing with, the type of problems I like to address, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. When I'm listening to people, right, and they can't answer those questions for me, I already know you don't have marketing professionals around you. You haven't surrounded yourself with certain people to help you define your value prop so you can be more effective at what you do. And that's usually a telltale sign that someone is still in a hustling phase. And you could be earning 100, 200. Then you start getting closer because you can hustle, like you can grind, you can get after the money, and you can earn in today's economy $500,000. But I think once you get to 500,000, depending on your business model and the nature of what you do, you start bumping your head. Because at that point, if you're earning that type of money 9 times out of 10, 100% of it isn't predicated upon you getting up and going to work. You have people around you who are serving types of roles and responsibilities, usually when you're earning that type of revenue.
Yeah, you have
Um,
a team in place. Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, those are some of the telltale signs where you're still, quite frankly, you're hustling. You're a team of me. The brand is you, the deliverables is you, the operations is you. It's all you. And man, look, talent, hard work wins games, but at some point you realize you need a team, right? And I mean, that team nowadays can be AI, right? These AI bots, like I'm really getting into that, studying these AI agents.
Hmm.
Um, but for those individuals who haven't crossed that line or it doesn't really work for a business model currently or they haven't figured it out, yeah, those are some of the telltale signs, no doubt. So that's one of the frameworks in which I look at it, right? Um, hustlers are like permanent startups. That's what they are. The business never grows away from them. There's, like you said, there's no levels at all to it, and it sounds like that gentleman you were referring to, that's where he's at. Because I'm thinking from the standpoint, I haven't even started up an Airbnb, but I know there's certain things I want to have in place. Like in the beginning, I know I'm going to do the majority of it, and I want to do the majority of it because I want to understand it. I want to understand the beast that I'm tackling. So I want
Hmm.
to know every issue, every bottleneck, every headache, every stressor. I want to see all the problems. That way I can put processes in place to anticipate them. That doesn't mean I want to bump my head on all of them. I'm going to hire a consultant. I'll talk to individuals like yourself. I'll pay people to give me the advice and guidance I need, but I still want to go through it, right? Um, but I mean, for me, the next level, it doesn't matter what business you're in, but we're going to use them as an example. There's a point where you have to transition from a team of me to a team of we, right?
Absolutely.
Um, a lot of these business owners are out here and their business is only generating enough income to pay their bills, right? But there's a point if your business is really growing, if it's really scaling, you just can't wear all the hats anymore. And for me, what I would like to have in place, number one, is a contractor. Like I'm not getting up at 3 a.m. fixing pipes. That's not what I do. I'm not about to replace the toilet. I'm not about to fix an outlet. I may run an errand to buy something that needs to be placed in a home. Okay, that's different.
Yeah,
But
you're helping your
yeah,
contractor to get stuff done. Like that's different. And two, you're cutting down on your costs because you want to
yeah,
verify what, you know what I'm saying, what you get, or you could just do a phone sale. Like, hey, go ahead, do a phone sale, have them text me, whatever.
yeah. When you're making that transition, I mean, putting the right butts in the right seats, right?
Absolutely.
And it goes back, you already know the acronym I'm gonna use, GAS, right?
Mhm.
I'm gonna look for people who get it. They know what the mission is. If I'm gonna start doing short-term rentals, which is really the direction I want to go, and Airbnbs a little bit, I'm gonna have people who understand. that the ultimate goal is to create an experience. I don't want to be part of the race to the bottom where I'm charging the least expensive rates to make my business viable. I want to provide an excellent experience, right? So from everything from the toiletries to the cleanliness, the decor, the type of furniture that's in the room, the type of pictures that are in the room, um, any type of convenience I would think of where it was like, if I took a trip to Maui, which I did take, right? I'm thinking about that Maui experience that I had
Yeah.
where it's like I didn't have to ask for nothing. I picked the phone, they were on it, responsive immediately. Whether I was ordering food, trying to find out what their entertainment was, whatever the case may be, that information was readily available at my fingertips. New linens, like forget once a day, they were knocking on the door 2 or 3 times a day, like, hey, do you need anything else? Like, that's the type of experience I'd want to deliver for the people I work with. And of course, something else that I think about too, once you reach that stage, once again, like part of transition from hustling and making that transition from a team of me to a team of we is having processes in place to weed people out. Like I don't even let people schedule a point. If you and I have not talked on the phone, we have not developed a rapport. I don't know who you are or what you're about. There's a survey out there for you. There's a questionnaire, and you
Mhm.
have to fill out that questionnaire so I can see if you're my ideal client or buyer persona before we schedule the appointment. If you try to schedule the appointment without filling out that questionnaire, it's going to get canceled, right? I'm thinking the same thing. It's like if I was on the Airbnb platform with the short-term rentals, I would manufacture my own platform more than likely. Um, no, you just not about to roll up in here and you're like you said, it's testimonies out there about how you be tearing the club up,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
Um, you're not going to get into any of my short-term rentals unless you fit a specific professional demographic. Like I'm taking aim at doctors, I'm taking aim at nurses, traveling medical professionals, um, C-suite executives, or highly compensated executives that are flying in and out of town that need a place to stay for 3 to 4 days and they don't want the hotel experience, right? Um, and I'm going to make sure, right, that persona matches up. I am not above going online. Like people fill out a questionnaire, they talk to them. No, we go online. I want to see what you're doing online. I want to see what your lifestyle is because I'm not going to people sometimes use an excuse, but there is some truth to it. Not all money is good money.
Absolutely. That
So,
is the truest statement that was ever said in life.
mhm,
All money is not good money. And if you have been in this space as an entrepreneur, you want to stay away from what I call headache money.
yeah,
Um, So yeah, and I think it's very important.
yeah,
If it's really it's crucial, as a matter of fact, because it could be the difference between life and death, really, literally. Because if
mm,
dealing with somebody that is just a fucking headache,
a crash out, Dunny.
yeah, it's all
Yes.
bad. It's
Hmm.
nothing. Whatever money that you make from that experience or that joint venture or whatever it may be, um, will never equate to just the overall what you had to go through to like get from point A to point B. You
Yeah.
know, I agree completely.
And that's part of the process. Like you can't scale from a team of me to a team of we until you get those things addressed. Because when you take on that administrative assistant or that virtual assistant or that fractional COO or that fractional CEO or whoever, now you are in the position where other people are relying upon you to take care of their families and pay their bills.
Hmm.
So now your revenues have to be consistent. Your revenues don't become consistent until you identify the people who are really for you and until you really take aim at your core focus, right? The things that you are exceptional at, that people are willing to pay an exceptional amount of money to benefit from, right? Until you reach that point, you're gonna be in trouble. Your income's always gonna be up and down. It's gonna be up and down anyway, but it's really going to be sporadic, and then you can't plan ahead. And that's part of that process, right? Putting the right butts in the right. Do they get the mission? Do they know why you're doing it? What's the deliverable? Are they willing to show up and be accountable to it? Do they have the skills? Right. And that's all that is part of making that transition from a team of me to a team of we. And you have to be savage about it. Like, it does not mean you treat people savagely, but you got to be savage about your assessment of people. Because if you're not, I think we had a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, but it boils down, everybody knows this. Like, when I hear a business owner that doesn't talk about culture, and that's really the next level, from a team of me to a team of we. And then when you really level up and get into creating business processes, sales management process, deliverable processes, marketing processes, branding process, once you start getting those processes in place, what you're really talking about is you are now promoting your culture, right? But any business owner that understands that process knows right away, one bad person can have a greater impact than 3 A players in your business. Because that one bad person has to have someone to be bad with. They got to have someone to talk to. They have to have someone to hate with, complain with, take shortcuts with, play hooky with, stab you in the back with. It always has to be a collusion. And that's what bad people in your business create. They create collusion. They create a type of influence. It's like that one bad person will lower the overall productivity of your team. Whether you're a team of 3 or a team of 300, they will lower the overall productivity of your team by at least 25% if they are allowed to fester. And if you allow them to get rooted and take hold, oh my God, they will ruin your business. They will take you out. So that's part of that transition from a team of me to a team of we, is understanding not only who your ideal client is, but understand who your ideal investor is, understanding who your ideal vendor is. If you're providing services to me, you're gonna know that I need A, B, C. This is how my business rolls. And if you want a fruitful relationship where I play a role in helping to make you wealthy, this is what I need from you. And people that could be become potential partners, employees, everybody has to know the role they play, right? And man, there's so many business owners that I've met walking the doors every single day, and I'll just, even when I'm acquiring services from someone, sometimes I will walk in unassuming, don't want to be loud or detectable, and I'll just chill for 3 to 5 minutes and just watch. I'll watch how the employees show up. If I can identify the owner or manager, I'll watch how they're showing up. I'll watch how they communicate with each other. I'll watch how they communicate with the customers, their patrons. That's a huge clue whether or not a person's figured that out yet. Um, as entrepreneurs, we're all gonna F up. We're gonna all have bad days. Like, you're not gonna be on 10 every single day. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make errors. You're gonna misjudge things. You're gonna have people who are not, because not everybody's for everything. Everything's like everybody. You aren't for everybody either. People are gonna complain because they're gonna complain about how you deliver. They're gonna complain about their expectations in terms of deliverables. Sometimes people will make judgments about how you look, right or wrong. People will make those type of judgments, right?
Your
Um,
gender too, your gender, like, you just might not be the
everything,
right gender for them to want.
everything.
Mhm,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Like, my whole thing, man, I got into it the other day. Right. And like I said, once you make this transition from hustler out of hustle, which the next level is a team of me, you really take these things into account. Like, there's a reason why I want diversity in all of my businesses. Right. I'm not a Black business owner. I'm an African American that owns a business. And I want all of it. I don't care what your background is. I don't care what your sex. I don't care whatever type of religious I don't care. If you have money to spend, you want to take advantage of my services, as long as you ain't gonna get out there and mess up my brand, hey, let's go. Right. Um, I know there are certain spaces in the greater Detroit metropolitan area where there's an advantage for me to have some diversity showing up. And then there are some spaces where, you know, you gotta have the right phenotype, right language, gotta talk, you gotta be a part of the community, you gotta be part of the culture. Right, I get that. But as a business owner, you want to be thinking about both of those things all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even if you're not, um, even if you're not hustling, I mean, let's take Starbucks. Let's look at the trouble they got into a handful of years ago. They forgot that piece. When they called the police on those men for just being there in the shop, I can't recall if they bought something or not. But the bottom line is you don't do that. They forgot that. Like, and it took them a number of years to fix that situation. But to their credit, they did kick things into overdrive and they did what they needed to do to repair their reputation. But I mean, small business, man, I gotta be careful because people know who I'm talking about. I remember there was this cafe in Midtown, and I remember walking in there, and I used to bring people with me. Like most people know, I work in cafes. That's where I'm at now, right? Because stuff going on in my residence. But anyway, I walked to this cafe, and if I start attending a cafe frequently, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna start inviting people because I like to do business where I like to hang out and chill out. So every time I went to this cafe, I always had it got to a point I had 3 to 4 people with me all the time. And I remember one day I walked in there and the staff persons were giving their friends. It was obvious they were friends. They were cool. They were on first name basis, chitter chatter, and they were giving them more attention and love than they were giving to me and the other people in the space.
Mhm.
Um, and I remember telling one of them, I said, "You aren't going to be in business for another 2, 3 months. I guarantee it. I guarantee it." I was like, "This is what you do." And of course, they had to chirp back and be rude and obnoxious and whatnot. It's like, I'm not going to out you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write a letter, email, I'm going to send it to the owner, which I did. The person I believe was the owner. I told him the exact same thing. I said, "You won't be in business another 3 months. I promise you, you won't." And you know what ended up happening? They were gone 3 months later, right? Having systems in place and a way to create accountability to deal with situations like that is so absolutely important. Like in any of my verticals, if someone comes to me and says, "I had A, B, C, and D issue for customer, or this type of conflict arrived," most of the time I am thinking about that individual situation. I am going to query that individual. I'm going to learn as much as I can about what transpired. But I immediately start thinking about, okay, what system can I put in place? And maybe not even a system in the sense that I don't want to be helicoptering people because no one has you're not a business owner either. You have to helicopter all the people around you,
Yeah,
right?
but at least a training of some sort.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, something in place
Or like
where,
a teachable moment where like
mhm,
you can use it as like, hey, this isn't to out anybody or make anybody feel bad, but I want to use this as a teachable moment for
yeah, yeah. Um, man, this piece is so huge. Like you're ready to make the transition team of me to a team of we when you get real solid on your values and your principles. And I mean, you've seen this in our working interaction. Like there are certain things I say repeatedly over and over again. There are certain phrases I repeat over and over again. There are certain values and principles, right? Team of me, lifting as we climb, using third party tools. We celebrate, we edify, we protect, right? All these things are really values that I'm communicating constantly so people understand exactly what it is. Like our money is our applause for a job well done, basically making sure that our clients are being taken care of and they get the service that they expect and deserve, right? You have to be able to drive that culture. And it's not, you can't say it one time. Like you have to have a methodology. So whether, as you know, for me, I got newsletters, we have our training meetings, I send messages almost on a daily basis. Even the stuff I post on social media is oftentimes because I know people might not necessarily like all the time what I'm doing or share, and I don't care. Because a lot of times when I'm posting it isn't even for them. It's for the people I work with, so they get it, right? So
Right.
they know what the assignment is. So yeah, that's an important piece if you're going to make that transition from a team of me to a team of we. If you're going to put yourself on a point where you're really building a business.
I
I just
agree.
went on. I just went on. I just went in for the last 5 10 minutes.
I mean, yeah, but it was all really well received information because it's basically what you where you have to be mentally when you're making that transition and you have to be thinking about all of those things and really putting a lot of thought and effort into it. And then, of course, you know, whoever is mentoring you or whoever has your ear at that time, getting feedback from that person. Or even, this is what I usually do, is get with somebody who's been doing whatever the business venture is for
Yep.
many, many years, and then asking them, you know, of course, have a rapport with them to be able to
Mhm.
ask these questions, but like, what are some things you would do different? Or what are some mistakes that you felt like you made that you wish you could have done, you know, differently? And those are the really, like, what's really, really important, because you can learn so much from just them sharing that with you, learning what to do and most importantly, what not to do, so that you can avoid some of the pitfalls and failures of, you know, being the one man show, or um, waiting too long to implement change, or, you know, as you said, if you've got um, some negative energy in your organization or in your ecosystem, not weeding it out immediately, letting it fester and, you know, causing um, just a domino effect of negative things. Or even if you see a lack of productivity in a certain area, you have to be able to be objective and say, okay, what is it that I'm doing that is not pushing this thing forward? Because obviously the buck stops with you. You're the
Yeah.
leader behind the entire operation. And you know, when you've been in that spot, you have to like really be like, okay, I have to be objective about even myself. You know, sometimes you people need structure when they're working on a team and in a team environment. And I think that's really important. You can never just assume that people are going to do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it because you're paying them. Like, a lot of times
Yep.
you have to go check behind people. And when you are checking behind them and you find that they're not doing the things that you've delegated out to them, it requires conversation and it requires restructuring and asking for feedback. Like, well, what is it that, you know, for that person that you think that would make, you know, your job easier, or even sometimes people having health issues that they're dealing with. You know, because not everybody has the same lifestyle. That is something that definitely impacts your ability to be effective and efficient in a professional setting. Your health is your wealth. And, you know, a lot of times people won't take care of themselves, or they'll have medical things going on and they're reluctant to share with you. And it definitely affects their productivity and even their mindset. Because if you feel bad, you know, you don't feel like um you know, doing anything. You're just kind of dragging, you know, and that definitely has an impact on your business. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, once you do that, you're now the team of we, right? So ideally, at least the majority of people you have around you, they get it. They want to be accountable. They have skills, and you have established principles, established values, established. People know what the assignment is, right? They know what the expectation is to your customers and your clients and how they're supposed to work and the culture you're trying to build. So that piece becomes important. Then, you know, the next level up, once again, is the systems, right? So making sure you have the right software, making sure you have the right architecture, making sure you have the right tools around you. So as new people come into your business, they know what's expected of them. You make sure that you have tools in place in terms of providing knowledge to them. I'm gonna relocate right quick. Um,
Okay.
Give me 1 second.
No problem.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, making sure people know what the expectations are, making sure that people have um, the opportunity to develop the knowledge and skills they need to develop to be successful. And then on top of that, um, making sure that you are doing what you're supposed to do to actually motivate people and keep them inspired. Um, and making sure that you're showing up as a leader you need to be. If you don't have those things in place, if you haven't communicated expectations, You don't have systems in place where people who desire to get better at the game that you're playing, if you have not have some system in place to keep people focused on their goals, what they can achieve in your business, and if you haven't found some way to provide motivation and inspiration, or what some people even refer to as personal development of any kind, you don't catch that L, or you at least you're not going to be as successful as you could be. And then once again, the systems, right? And you mentioned it earlier, business processes. People come in, this is how you respond to this. People come in, this is how you deliver on this. People come in like this is the way. You got to be able to define this is the way we do things, right? And these are the tools we use to execute. And then you hit the nail on the head, right? Mentorship is huge. It's a big piece of it. Like, I'm getting ready to meet with someone next week. They're not even in my industry. Any of the things, they're not doing any of the things that I'm doing, but they've been around for 50 million years. They have a well-known brand. I mean, pretty much they're kind of like an icon.
Okay.
In the Detroit metropolitan area. And you never know what people have going behind closed doors, but that's beside the point. The bottom line is they're doing business right. I'm going to sit down in front of that person. I haven't offered to take them out to lunch somewhere. Like, look, I'm going to buy you lunch. I don't, you pick it. You pick it.
That's what's up.
You pick it. But it's worth it. It's worth it for someone who's had that kind of success. I mean, I think about it like this, right? Because I think entrepreneur, this is another sign too that you're hustling. And look, once again, nothing wrong with hustling, but you got to grow up. You got to level up in your business.
Absolutely.
But individuals like that, there are people in the entrepreneur and B2B ecosystem where folks have to pay $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Sometimes even just be in a room with certain people. Just to be in a room with them where they're just being dictated to, where they can't, where you can't even ask questions, right? You just got to pick the nuggets up, right? So if I need to pay $200, $300, or $500 to feed someone to get the information I need, and I can take that $500 investment and turn it into tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenues, I'm going to pay it. And to me, that's how I view this person. Hopefully not listening to this and you don't, choose Ruth Chris or some crap. Or whatever. So
Hold on,
5 7
what's
sir.
wrong
But
with
with any respect. So yeah. But here's the other thing too when we talk about systems, because systems also include people, right? So this is what I believe and what I've observed and what you'll hear other entrepreneurs who's made that transition will say. You better have an HR person. Someone who knows someone that at some point has a degree of acumen in terms of managing people, understanding rules, regulations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You better have a marketing person, because gone are the days where if you build it, people will come. You can have the best product, best service, you can be offering the best of whatever. If you're not marketing and if people can't find you, you're dead in the water. Like a lot of older business owners have a hard time with that because they've been sitting somewhere forever and they figure I'm really good at what I do. Why don't the people come? No, they ain't coming. Today, people jump on that phone, they Google whatever it is they do, and whatever shows up, and then they make a determination whether they're gonna do business. You better have a marketing person. You better have a tax and accounting person. Better have a tax and accounting person. That goes without saying.
I
A
think that's
tax,
the most important
yeah,
piece of the puzzle. Absolutely.
yeah. And you better have, I mean, depending on the bottom line is you need to have it. You better have a financial person. A financial person is different than a tax and accounting person. I used to have to explain that to people all the time. There are people who understand how to raise money, how to manage capital, how to invest capital. They can, you have people who aren't just providing the data for the P&L statement, but they can look at the P&L statement and tell almost immediately whether or not that business is being successful or not, whether or not there's growth opportunities or room for improvement. You got to find someone who understands money. Money is skilled trade. I think that's the biggest mistake people make. They don't understand money is skilled trade. That's a skill. And then you better have a legal team.
Absolutely.
You better have a legal team. If you are missing any of those things, it ain't gonna happen today, or it might not happen today. It might not happen tomorrow. But trust me, you will get your teeth knocked out. And this is the part that business owners don't understand. Like, I'll see business owners who feel like they winning because they're earning enough money to pay their bills. No, you need to earn enough revenue if you're really going to be a business owner to afford these things. That's what you're working towards. You're not even winning yet until you create the infrastructure where you can afford to have these resources, these people, these tools are available to you. Not even going to bring in an operations person to make sure the deliverables are being, I mean, this is basic stuff, right? But this is when you know you're going from a team of me to a team of we, and now you're building a real business because now you can afford the expertise that you need around you. Like, I do operations, I can do operations, but I'm not an operations person. I understand the importance of marketing, but I'm not a marketing person. That's not my strength, so to speak.
Right.
But I can do it and I can help people. Anyway, um, at some point you're gonna need like even more people with different skills and specializations to execute on things. That's where you're winning. Now you have a business. Now you have people helping you to onboard people. Now, who knows, right? If I'm blessed to create a business that generates billions in dollars in revenues, great, fantastic. But I still want to have my hand. I don't think there'll ever be a point where I just don't show up to any of my businesses. Like, I'm still going to show up. I'm still going to, see what the zeitgeist is. Whether I have 10 employees or if I have 100 employees or 500 employees, I still want to know what the zeitgeist is. I want to know what the culture is. I want to feel it. I'm the type of person that will show up in the hoodie and the glasses and looking like spam, and I will show up in my own business just to sit back and see what's going on, right? Because at that point, if you're really running a business, all your employees aren't going to know you. They may not even recognize you. Like, it's safe to say that a lot of people work for Starbucks wouldn't recognize CEO if he walked into the Starbucks. Same thing with all these bills, Walmart, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? When you get to that point, um, in my mind, like I said, whether it's 10 people or 500 people, you want to get to the point where these are the type of problems that you're concerning yourself with, aside from the bottom line being met, right? Um, it's the systems and the expertise. So that's the next framework that I'm looking at when I'm making an assessment as to where a person is in their process in terms of their business. Then there's another level to that, right? You have to be doing R&D, where now you're paying for individuals that conduct research for you. And the research I'm talking about is not just demographics today, but you have to have expertise and really sharp, bright minds around you to anticipate where the market is going. Like, a lot of these, I mean, and there's two arguments to this. Like, some people say, well, that's a waste of money because you can't predict the future, which you can't. And the bottom line is the market is changing so quick. There's this train of thought now where people say you should only have you should have like a daily business plan, where somehow you should have your fingers or have other people with other fingers, whatever the case may be, you should have your hands on the pulse of what's going on in the market all the time because it's month to month, year to year, and things change so fast. Having a 10, 20, 30-year plan doesn't make any sense. The flip side of that argument is if you don't have a vision or and you don't know your destination, where you're going, it's like if the person takes aim, you take aim at nothing, you'll hit it every single time. Like, you have to have in your mind an ideal of where you want your business to go. Like, I can see clear as day how large I want our sales organization to be, right? I want our sales organization to be so big that when we visit a city, we stimulate the economy. Like, they're like, oh, they're coming. Tell all the restaurants, tell all the hotels, tell all the transport drivers, tell everybody they come in, get the city ready. Like, like the Super Bowl. When the Super Bowl comes to the city, they should, I mean, they like it's mass scale, we reorganizing everything. Or the Grand Prix right now here in Detroit, right? I want people to have to direct traffic a certain way because we're so successful. We're so and success, not just in terms of the number of people, but the fact that we have a number of people who are doing very well. Well, we literally stimulate an ecosystem, right? Everything I'm doing today and now is all designed to put systems in place to accommodate that growth. Where I don't even have to be omnipresent throughout the organization, but because of the exampleship, the systems, the tools, the values, the principles, all these things create fertile soil for that many people, right? And that's just one example. But I mean, there are a couple other KPIs that I think about in terms of long-term, what I want my business to look like or businesses, how I want to be operating, how I want to be moving, the type of ecosystem I want to create. I'm very focused in on the type of people, because not only you serving your customers, you're serving the people to work for you. So you need to
Yep.
know who your target people are that are going to work for you. Like there's certain types of people that I want to come into the business ecosystem, regardless of the role they play, and they still be the ideal person. So whether you're sweeping the floors or whether or not you sit next to me in a boardroom, right? I know who this business should be serving, right? Um, and a lot of it has to do with just, behaviors and principles and values and things like that. I care less about your phenotype. But I think you get the point, right? That's the next level. And then you come back around to it. You gotta have people doing that research to help you. Like I know I need to have people who are gonna help me determine where real estate is going 20, 30 years from now. They don't have to be 100% accurate. That'd be accurate enough to help me at least be moving in the right direction. I need to have people around me doing research on where the B2B market is going. What are the needs now of small business owners? Now, I pay attention, so I think I know what those needs are going to be over the next 5 to 10 years. But I'm still very much in the operations of my business. I need someone they're full time at that. That's what they do, right?
Yep.
In terms of legal services, in terms of tax and accounting services, in terms of all these different things, financial services, even if I'm not directly in it, I need to understand what's happening with the market and where it's going to go 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, so I can pivot and adjust and position myself appropriately, right, to be successful. That's really investing in your business, right? What verticals am I have to create? I know AI is probably going to replace 60% of what I'm doing today. I know that. I know 3 to 5 years from now, if I keep doing what I'm doing now, I'm going to get put out of business. So there's some additional verticals I need to be strategically adding even right now, right? And I'm going to need people who understand the market better than me. I'm going to have to pay them sometimes to tell me not necessarily what I want to do, but how do I get to that destination and what verticals are going to be required to get there, right? That's also, once again, the next level, right? And I don't care if you're a restaurant owner, I don't care if you own a salon or a barbershop, doesn't matter to me. You own a coffee shop or a widget company, right? That's another level in your business, right? That's another level. And then the next thing that I think about, and for me, I've been kind of touching on this, but you can kind of see the way I think and where my mind is going. First, you learn how to feed yourself. Then you learn how to feed others. Then you learn how to scale that. And then you become a market maker. You become a person that creates an ecosystem, right? You're creating an ecosystem that is providing value and employment to the people who reside or live with underneath your umbrella, underneath your cover, right? To me, that's the next level. And like I said before, man, I would say easily, it's upsetting to me actually to say it, but it's just the truth. 95 to 99% of the entrepreneurs you and I deal with are not thinking like that. They're only
I
think. Yeah, the only thing, how can I earn enough money to go get this car, get this watch, get these gym shoes, go to this event, Coachella, whatever, right? They're just earning enough to be seen and be popular. But those are not the people who are going to become market makers and people who actually control entire ecosystems, right? That's the biggest problem in Black and brown communities. We are not creating ecosystems. We're just earning money. And
And
there's a difference.
there is. And you have to think like all the things that we're talking about right now, these are things where you're thinking about longevity, pivoting, adding
Yeah,
different service lines. If something shifts in your ecosystem, you're able to go in a different direction and focus on X, Y, and Z. I think a lot of people are short-sighted in like what their goals are. They're not thinking of like, all the things that we talked about. Of course, I was taking notes as well. Are a lot of things that people just they don't have that ability to like look at those things and say, okay, I need to do X, Y, and Z. It's basically, like you said, a business where they're just running it on a day-to-day basis and the goals are day to day. There's not any like, okay, 6 months from now, I want to be doing X, Y, and Z. A year from now, I want to be, able to open up another service lines, do this, pivot over here and do more of this and less of this. There's not a lot of that, just reflecting with a lot of the business owners that, we're working with currently. But I think that these are conversations that we need to have. And for people who are, going to watch this, it'll give them a lot to think about, especially if they're operating in that space or even if they're interacting with one of us. Because, sometimes I feel like when you know better, you do better. And you need to always be trying to broaden your horizons and increase your social circle. If
yeah,
you hanging out with winners and you're like the person in the room who's soaking up everything like a sponge, you're going to learn and you're going to progress and you're going to, start thinking of things that you never thought about before because you're even just listening to and maybe even participating a little bit in conversations that you've never listened to or participated in before. So it's going to make you think on a completely different level. And that's what a lot of us really truly need is just to be in those kind of circles where you're like, oh, wow, like these people are doing X, Y, and Z. Let me take some notes and try to incorporate some of this into what I'm doing.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing is, it did a little trigger me a little bit when you said whether or not people have the ability. Like for me, we all have the ability. I mean, there are very few people who actually don't have the ability to execute on what we just talked about. Now, having the ability and having the desire is two different things, and the willpower to see it through,
Well, yeah,
right?
you have to have the desire to execute. Like the
Yeah,
road to hell is paved with good intentions,
and
the greatest intentions of the world. But if you can't execute and follow through, then what are you really doing?
yeah. I mean, for me, it's not even like I said, it's not a question of ability, vision, vision, and people's beliefs. Like people are just thinking so small. They're thinking so small. I was having a conversation with a business owner earlier today, and we were talking about how the question's pretty much posed: how you deal with your detractors, how you deal with your haters, how do you deal with the people who may not even believe in you who are around you. And my response to them was, my vision is so big, I'm moving so fast, I can't even hear them. Like by the time people start hating, I'm 3 to 6 months ahead of the hate because I'm moving that fast. Like they don't even show up on my radar. My vision is so big in terms of what I want to accomplish. It's like my competitors are not my peers. I don't worry about competing my peers at all. I'm not, I pay attention to my peers to the extent to which we can collaborate, to the extent to which we can help each other, to the extent that I need to be aware of just to make sure that I remain competent and salient in the marketplace. Like I'm positioned properly, but man, my competition are these organizations that are already doing $5 and $10 million a year doing what I'm doing.
Mhm.
That's my competition. My competition are the gatekeepers, the government and civic agencies, and um private companies that are earning 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 million. That's my competition.
Mhm.
Like, I know in order for me to achieve my goals, I remember when I was involved in athletics a lot. Something that, because I was fast, but I was not the fastest. I was quick, but I was not the quickest. I was strong, but not the strongest. Like, I wasn't blessed with like super uber athletic talent. But the one thing that allowed me to beat people who were far more talented than me was the fact that I always ran my race. Like, I ran my best race. I wasn't looking to the left. I wasn't looking to the right. I was like, let me just do the best I can do and do it better and more consistently than everyone else, and I will win the majority of the time, if not all the time. Right? Um, I need entrepreneurs. I want for entrepreneurs, particularly Detroit metropolitan ecosystem, stop looking to your left and your right, smacking, kicking, scratching, clawing, beating people down up around you, and take aim at bigger adversaries, bigger goals, like bigger things to accomplish. Like, make that your race, right? Um, man, it's, Adrian, I tell you, when you brought this topic up, there's a family here in Detroit Metro. And once again, I gotta be careful. There ain't too many of them. And it's like, I love competition. I think competition is healthy, particularly when it's the type of competition that completes the people around you as opposed to you're always just trying to defeat everybody. But there's this cadre, this group of people in Detroit Metro where it's like they're trying to do everything. Every time they see someone else doing something good, they try to get into that space, right? And it's like there's a lid. There's only so much you can accomplish by yourself. And instead of trying to squash everybody, and there's a movie I'm thinking about, I can't remember it, but you just have people in the ecosystem that spend the majority of their time trying to hold people down. That's what they really do.
Or gatekeep.
Yeah, they try to hold people get. And here's the bottom line: it doesn't create fertile soil. It creates toxic soil. It creates the type of situation that doesn't grow anything. And as an entrepreneur and a business owner, if you're thinking long term, what you want to do is create fertile soil. You want new opportunities, you want new products, you want new services, you want people who have talents to be able to express their talents in a certain type of way and have success. You want people to operate in their gifts because that creates more opportunities. That creates more ways to grow. That creates future partners. Like, I want to tell some of these people, you do know you're going to die. And maybe you don't care what happens afterwards. You don't care what happens to the community. You don't care what happens to the ecosystem. You don't care. And hey, it is what it is, right? But man, I just want more of the entrepreneurs, like I said, that we know and period, to start thinking on a bigger level, right?
Yeah, creating those opportunities for collaboration and for, like you said, just additional fertile soil, because that's really any business owner's like lifeline is fertile soil, being able to pivot, being able to collaborate with other business owners. The ebb and flow of business is what it is.
Yeah,
Some you might be able to do X, Y, and Z, and then other times that might have slowed down and you have to pivot to, a different service line that you're offering. But I think that's definitely super important. And then also too, just having like the right attitude to be receptive to those kinds of situations. Cause some people are so closed off. They feel like, their way is the only way, or they're not really interested in collaborating because they feel like they've arrived, or they want to keep certain people out of, whatever the opportunity might be. And all of that is definitely counterproductive.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. It's to me, it's just obvious that people don't study business and they don't study history. But the bottom line is, money is a fickle partner. Money is a fickle partner.
I agree.
Money is adulterous. Okay.
Mhm.
And the moment you feel like you have arrived, the moment you feel like you don't need to grow anymore, the moment you start feeling entitled to certain things, money will divorce you. Like, and I'm blessed and fortunate to have been around as an entrepreneur for 20 years where I've seen it. Like I've seen people who were eating yesterday on the curb. And I see people who are eating today who I know will be on the curb tomorrow.
We
And
all
you,
have. Yeah, we
yeah.
all. Yeah.
And it's like it happens on a small quote unquote level in terms of impact, but we also see it on a larger level. And it's always amazing to me that when I see entrepreneurs or even collectives of entrepreneurs who don't get that.
Or even people who you may have collaborated with in the past or teamed up with, or they may have worked with you on certain things. And you look up and, you're on year 10 of your professional trajectory, and they're still doing the same things that they were doing when you first started working with them. You know,
Yeah.
especially for me with like contractors, it's very much a reality. Like, these guys are, like you said, the one man show. um,
Hmm.
they don't have any sort of real team. They're, basically hiring people per job. They've got people stealing tools, running off, trying to steal their customers, just all kinds of nonsense. And even when you've gone as far as trying to show them some of your own systems to try to help them build themselves up so you guys can grow together, they're still in that same spot, jogging in place while you're sprinting around the track.
You
So
know,
people are just not receptive to change or even investing in themselves. Like sometimes I might feel like, from a business owner, because that's what I'm like trying to reach out to and build other business owners up to create other opportunities, just like you. And from a business owner, you might talk to a business owner who you've known for years and be like, hey, I'm using this, and this to tighten up this and that, blah, blah, blah. And go present it to them till you're blue in the face and they're still like doing the same things that they've been doing and not willing to be receptive to those new things that you're trying to show them, that you're showing them through your actions and obviously the things that you're accomplishing that is working for you, but they're still like not interested in leveling up.
yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to find the words to describe or to characterize the behaviors we're talking about, right? Um, it's you just have to accept that there are going to be some business owners, some entrepreneurs, people. They're in the game for comfort, right? Most people are just simply seeking comfort, and once they reach a certain comfort level, they're done. That is the extent of the investment they're willing to make, whether it be in the people around them, whether it be in their customers, whether it be their staff, partners, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have people who are on a mission, right? Where it's the mission that is driving everything. Um, and I guess that's the line ultimately trying to draw in terms of the dichotomy and the differences between the hustlers and the people who are really out here building businesses that are meant to last, so they're going to last generations, right? And once again, there's no judgment here. To each their own. You cannot tell other people what appetites they should have, right?
Yeah. If you've got
Um,
the appetite of an alley cat, you should eat what alley cats eat. And if you've got the appetite of a lion, you should eat what lions eat, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like we've said it before, everything is not for everybody, Some people are comfortable in that hustle mode, and that's how they want to operate their business. And there's nothing wrong with that because there's a place for everybody in the ecosystem. Some people are operating their business as like it's a hobby, and that's
Mhm.
fine too. Because again, there's always room for those people in the ecosystem, at least my ecosystem. Everybody, um, brings value to the table. It's not like you said, there's no judgment. We're just talking, having this conversation because it's something that most business owners are thinking about. And even if you're not thinking about it, it's going to give you something to think about.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things like, oh man, this is so timely. So I was asked recently to participate and to give a talk on entrepreneurship and business development and kind of like my journey and where I've been, where I am, where I'm going. Of course, I'm only going to give so much information about that, but um, and it was interesting. The person asked me whether or not I'm political, and a lot of questions around the ideal politics and whatnot, and how I felt about politics. And it's kind of ironic 'cause in my youth, I paid attention to politics all the time. But at this stage of my business, I am completely oblivious to what's going on politically around me. I mean, I know who certain people are,
Yeah.
and I know moving forward based on what a person's position is, I know how I want to apply pressure and get attention. But the ideal of supposedly getting involved in the political game, I'm completely oblivious to, have no interest in whatsoever. And she was like, wow. And I was like, look, this is what I know. We live in she says, don't you care about democratic, this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other? And I had to pause her and I was like, look, we live in a democratic republic. We don't live in a democracy, number one. We live in a democratic republic. In order for a democratic republic to work correctly, people, number one, have to be informed. A democratic republic only works when you have informed people engaged in the process. So it does not matter what party, it doesn't matter what this, what that, this, that, and the other. If the people who are making choices and your vote is a choice, in a democratic republic, the people have to be informed about what is best for them. In the short and long term, they have to understand what is acting on their lives. As an entrepreneur, that's what I spend the majority of my time diagnosing and paying attention to. The next thing is, we live in a democratic republic and our system is capitalistic. From the very beginning, this is an ownership society. If you don't own anything, you can't complain what happens to you. Like, I'm looking at all these celebrities and people getting caught up, because I am not completely oblivious to that. You can't jump on social media and not see all these people getting caught up.
Yeah.
And you'll hear people say, well, so and so does this, and this community gets away with this, and so and so got away with this. I'm like, but you know what? They're the employers. So they control the rules of the game. They control whether or not the rules get applied or not. Right? Ownership is power, ownership is influence. Ownership is not being pieces on the puzzle, but determining how the pieces move and where the pieces can move. And until we as a society understand that, and then I'm gonna go a little bit, I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper, until we as a community in Detroit metropolitan area, and then in particular until black and brown people understand this, we're gonna catch that L
Every time.
every time. You have to become the employer. You have to create ecosystems where you control the branding, the marketing, the image. That piece right there is so important. Like, you have to be able to control your brand, your marketing, your image. A lot of these people that are catching L's in the news and in social media, the first thing that happened was people attacked their brand and their image, right? if you want to take somebody down, before you go after them, you have to weaken them. You have to destroy their moat. And the way you destroy their moat is you destroy their character, you destroy their reputation, you destroy how people view them. Until you are able to control that and really dictate that, using whatever mechanism you're going to use, you're always going to be vulnerable. That's number one. You have to control the resources that are required to deliver your services. So whether those services are intellectual, whether or not they're tangential resources or resources that are palpable to the touch, you have to control that. You cannot control the resources that you need in order to deploy your deliverables. You can't dictate what goes on. And then, of course, you have to be able to control the deliverables. The reason why these music artists are getting caught up because they're not in control of their own deliverables. Somebody is telling them what the deliverables must be. You have to deliver this product to the ecosystem, to the market, or else we're not going to put you on. Right? That's a perfect example of thinking about it. Right? And you have to have some means in which to control the capital, how the capital flows in and out of your ecosystem. And in particular, the African American community is so far away from that goal. It's absurd. I mean, capital lasts like 30 seconds in the community. So you have no control over that.
I agree. And I think too, like, when you're like looking at other stuff, like, um, the erosion of, like the family unit,
Mhm.
that all plays into, um, your buying power and your how you think and how you process
Yeah.
information. Because I forget the guy's name, but I'll think of it. He's somebody who's you know, well known, but he was pointing out in one of his teachings that um the level of success of like other people outside of, this community, um, like 90% of them have that family unit, have a wife, all these different things in place.
Yeah.
And because in, our community, certain communities, the Black and Brown community, the family unit has been eroded, it definitely creates um like a negative environment for thriving and for like a united, buying
Mhm.
power and that sort of thing. It like affects every aspect of the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. I mean, look, from the time human beings, sapiens, stood upright, the one consistent thing from the time we started utilizing language and stood upright was the family unit from the beginning up until now. And when you look at where wealth is concentrated, when you look at the people who actually really control what happens, I don't care if it's internationally, nationally, even locally, if you pay close attention, it's the families,
Mhm.
right? So what's ended up happening is, particularly within Black and Brown communities, we have allowed influences and ideologies and just BS nonsense to it's almost like Kool-Aid. We've drank that Kool-Aid. And now people become so addicted to the Kool-Aid, they don't realize that the sugar is tearing them apart, right?
Yeah,
Um,
inside out, it's poison.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I
they're
mean,
lying into
if
everything.
if you're if you're really committed to building businesses that last and you're really committed to building wealth, anything that goes against family, husband, wife, children, you must ignore it. If that's the game you want to play. Now, if you don't care about that game, you don't care about building wealth, you don't care about legacy, you don't care about what happens after you die to your children and great grandchildren, then you don't pay that stuff any attention. But if you actually want to build family, you want to build neighborhood, you want to build community, you want to build legacy, you want to leave the world better than when you can't, you have to ignore any and everything. Whatever's come out of somebody's mouth that doesn't have anything to do with actually building successful families, you must ignore it. Right? And it's not even an argument. Like, all the quantitative data says that. You look at the wealthiest people in the world, the one thing they all have in common. Look at these wealthy men. Even when they get divorced, even when they lose 50% of everything sometimes, what's the next thing they do 2, 3 years later?
Get back on the.
They're back creating a family. They immediately find themselves a wife, and what they start doing? Having children again. Because they get it. Right? It's a wealth principle. And, if you can't control that, if you can't get that part right, you're not going to be able to build successful businesses. You're not going to own anything. Right? And if you don't build successful enterprises, if you don't control resources, if you don't own things, then you get dictated to. You don't do the dictating. Right? And I'm like, damn, everyone else, the community I hail from, we need to get back to being savage about that. Like, it's interesting. Like, despite Jim Crow, despite systemic racism, de jure and de facto, because even after the laws were changed, de facto still took place. It's funny to me, people don't even realize that slavery still existed in certain places in the United States until the 1940s and 50s. You'd be surprised how many people are actually ignorant of that. But it's so ironic that despite all of that, the African-American family in particular was still solid up until the 1960s. Most of the revenue still flowed through the community. You had wealthy and poor people living next to each other. You had wealth being created, you had all these things. And then right when the 60s and 70s hit, there was concerted effort to destroy the family. And the African-American community has not recovered and will not recover until that gets addressed. That's just the bottom line. That is the number one determinant of your ability to get anything done and be competitive in this world. Until that part gets in, what ends up happening is African Americans are like the canary in the coal mine. So whatever's going wrong in the African American community, it eventually catches up with everybody else because it's a symptom. Right? And so that's why you see American society falling apart. That's why you see citizens upset, angry, feeling powerless, hopeless, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because those same factors are now working on society at large. And we've gotten away from the things that made this country great. This country has plenty of problems, it's effed up. We all know this country isn't perfect. Right? So, let's get over that. But when you think
the country is perfect.
Yeah. But when you think about the things that made this country great, number one, it was entrepreneurship and ownership. To the extent possible, it wasn't like in other countries where you weren't from the right family, right from the right lineage, you weren't from the right this and other, you couldn't participate. What made the United States what it is today is, at least theoretically, everybody had a chance to participate, own, create, build stuff, right? The other thing that has separated this country from everybody else, at least historically, and what created the wealth, was that, once again, that family unit, right? If you read our books, and this country's fraught with hypocrisy, of course, but when you look at the things that really made this country great, it was the ability for man or woman bring children into the world and not only have the hope and expectation, but the ground was fertile for them to create more, right? And this whole concept of freedom and liberation that people aspire to when they cross that sea on a stick or a boat or however they get here, that's what they're coming here for. That's what everybody comes here for. And we have gotten away from that. And then on a micro level, particularly talking about Black and brown communities, that is what is destroying us right now. So, and that's why this whole conversation in my mind about ecosystem is so important. why we need more entrepreneurs who have that mission. Like, it's not all about just earning money and being comfortable. We need more of us to actually have a mission. So I'm done preaching. We weren't supposed to go there today.
Well, no, but I mean, we definitely had to because I felt like it was something that was on my mind to us. Like when we
Yeah.
discussed this, I thought, yeah, that's really important because it's something that even if you're not thinking about it, even if you're listening to this podcast, this is the first time that you've ever heard that term or you've even thought about it, like now you're woke and now you know what it is. So you
Yeah.
can start you know, educating yourself and possibly even, rethinking some of the things that you're doing. And if you're already aware of it, well, then, it's again, just another reminder of that when you know better, you do better. That's all. And even if you don't want to do better, at least you have the information because
Yep.
everything isn't for everybody. We're just here to, share the knowledge and pay it forward. And that's about it. Even if you know nothing, at least you know now.
Yep. Indeed. Well, since I'm actually utilizing my phone today instead of my iPad, I don't even know what time it is. What time is it?
It is 1:30.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
You talking to you. See, this is going on all day.
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah.
wrap up though, because we
Yeah.
be like,
Okay. To be continued.
yep, definitely.
All right. I gotta get ready for my 2 o'clock. Crush it. Have a great day.
All right, you too. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.